Okay, welcome back everyone. So I'm once again continuing on with my setup of Travis CI for the codependent coder repository. In the last part, we got Travis running our test. Now we want to get it deploying the site on any merge to the master branch. So this is where it's going to get exciting because we're actually going to have it do an actual deployment. And I'm going to flick back to my sample one here. So you'll notice there's this bit here. This is foreshadowing a little bit. So my command here is a little bit different. You can see the make lint the things part in here. But you also notice there's this if statement checking these two environment variables and what's the story with all that. There's also this make deploy, which is a little different. So context, make deploy is, deploy is my makefile target. If I open up my makefile, oops, there it is. Deploy is my target that I use to actually deploy the site. So what we want in our Travis is we want to say something like make deploy here, but we only want that to happen when it's building the master branch. We definitely do not want to do a deployment of a pull request branch. Even if it's green, it's still not a good practice. You only want to deploy what's on master. So how do you do that? Because then we essentially have this sort of branching or condition here that we need to check. If it's a pull request build, then just run the linters. If it's a master branch build, then do a deployment. Again, assuming that the build is green. And that's what this thing is doing. It's kind of kludgy, or at least I think it's kludgy. But the way you do that is when Travis runs a build, it creates a bunch of predetermined environment variables. And you can find a list of them all in their docs. And one of them is this Travis branch environment variable, which is, if I remember correctly, it's the target destination branch. So if the target destination branch is master, i.e. if it is building the master branch, then that means you're building either the master branch or you're building a pull request that is targeting the master branch. And that's why there's the second condition that is Travis checking the Travis pull request variable. If that thing is equal to false, then that means it is not a pull request. If it is a pull request, then this variable is set to the pull request number. So this if statement as a whole is checking if the target branch being built is master and it's not a pull request, then do a make deploy, i.e. because what is being built is the master branch. It's not a pull request to master, it's the master branch. Otherwise, just do the linters. And the syntax around it is this is like basic shell scripting. So just a basic bash if else. So I'm going to take my command here from my sample one that I figured out before and plug it in here, because I think this should work. And I think this should be all we need for having it do an actual deployment if the build is the master, if it's building the master branch. So I'm going to save that. Deploy on successful merge to master. ch171. And push this up to GitHub. And if I go back to my pull request, actually, there is no pull request. That's right. Sorry, because this pull request is merged. So there's no pull request. There should be a build happening still. So is this the master branch one? No, that's the simulated failure. All right, so one of these is the master branch. So there we go. It's building the master branch. It's still going. Oh, look, it just finished. So that one's green. That's cool. And then the other one running was the change I just pushed up. Deploy on successful merge to master. Don't have a pull request up for that yet, so let's go ahead and create one. Trigger the pull request. Again, I can't merge it yet because the checks haven't completed, so it's going. Looks like the branch build is still in progress. So let's see how all these are doing. Is this one done? Yep. Cool. So one of the things I want to check here is did it do an actual deploy? Because it should not have. And it didn't. Right. Okay, so it got to the linting, but didn't. So it did the lint the things target. Actually, I guess I could have checked what. Yeah, that is one thing about the way this is set up, is it's kind of hard to tell just from looking at the build log. Like, did it do make deploy or did it do lint the things? Because I need to know the values of those environment variables. Yeah, that might be a nice little enhancement in the future. But anyways, it looks like this was exactly what I wanted, even though this was a change. Actually, no, this wasn't a change for the master branch. This was a change for my feature branch. It didn't do a deployment as expected. So what's going to happen on the pull request? So again, I would expect that this does not do a deploy because it's building a pull request. And I don't want deployments to happen on pull request builds. So this is the joy of DevOps work, is it's a lot of setting stuff up and then just watching machines do their thing. Okay, and there we go. So again, didn't do a deployment. And build was green, so if I go back to my pull request, wrong tab, refresh. Cool, all checks have passed, I can merge this. So now when I click this merge button, it's gonna do an actual real deployment of my site to S3. So this is kind of like scary moment, because this is potentially, if I've gone and goofed things up, I could potentially kill my site. So cool, it's merged. I'm not going to delete the branch because I'm still going to do a little bit more work on this. But let's see what's happening here. Is it doing a build of master? It is. Cool, master branch. I can see the actual commit it's building, which is the one I expect. Cool. So we'll wait for it to do its thing. Ooh, we have a failure. Why do we have a failure? Pelican command not found. Why is it not doing a build? Should and a make deploy. Oh, right. That's right, because the actual Pelican publish is not happening inside the Docker container. Well, that's not super great. Yeah, that's going to be a bit of work. Okay, so I have some rethinking to do here. So stepping back a little bit. So right now, again, a deployment does an S3 upload. The first thing of that is a publish. What does the publish do? Publish runs Pelican to actually. So what this command does is, or this command requires that Pelican be installed in the environment in which make is running, i.e. not inside the Docker container that's being built, but in the same virtual machine that make is being run. So I could either set up my make file such that it installs and sets up Pelican, which I really don't want to do, or I could move this work inside a Docker container, or sorry, Docker image, which is what I will do, but not in this video. At time. So when I recorded that video, I got to the point where my deployment pipeline wasn't going to work and I had to rethink it. So I actually did that and then fleshed out Travis to do the actual deployment. So I thought I'd explain what I did and demonstrate how it works. So the first thing I did is I created a ticket in Clubhouse to just like dive into this issue and figure it all out. And so this is all done. I'm recording this, probably a couple of weeks after I figured it all out. You can see today is June 3rd. Whereas the original video was, I think, May 12th or something like that. One of the nice things about Clubhouse, again, is that, I have this linkage set up so I can actually go back to the pull requests that I did. So why don't I just open up that one and this guy. And I'll put links to these pull requests in the video notes as well. So if you want to check them out, you can. But this was the big one where I kind of figured most of it out. And for the most part, the Travis portion of it really didn't change from what I had before. Like you can see the change to the Travis YAML file. The only thing that changed here is I renamed the target for the testing. Like before it was called lint the things, and I changed it to test because that's just a little bit more intuitive. It's a better name. But aside from that, the Travis portion didn't change at all. It was all internal stuff to my Docker file and my make file, basically. And so recall the problem was that my deployment process before required that Pelican be installed in the environment that it's running from. You needed to have access to the AWS command line, and you need to have a access key and secret key to actually do the push to AWS. And so what I did is I reworked my project so that all that happens within a Docker container. And so you can see the Docker file changed a bit. Basically, I needed the make command available to me inside the Docker container, because it's gonna, you'll see at the end here, it actually does a make publish, and that's my target for actually telling Pelican to generate the site. So I need make inside the Docker container now, so I install it. I need git to be able to tag the release, and I can't remember why I needed curl, but presumably I needed it for some reason. And then just rather than copying pieces over one at a time, I just copy everything over into the Docker container now, just to make things a little bit easier. And then the other big change was really within the make file. And so what I did is I took this as an opportunity to sort of clean up my make file, which had been kind of gotten a little crufty. It started from just whatever Pelican generated for me, and then I kind of added to it over time. It was a little kind of cumbersome. So there's a bunch of stuff that just got deleted, like the help command, which I don't even use, and it was out of date. But anyways, the real interesting change from a deployment perspective is, so previously I had this S3 upload target, and what that would do is it would check to see that you're currently on the master branch and there's no uncommitted changes, which I don't bother doing anymore because now the deployment's happening from Travis. So I'm not worried about having uncommitted files. And then it would just, do the sync to S3 using the AWS command line. And in this case, I used the -- profile command. I had a command line profile set up with my access key and secret, and I changed that a bit. So now you can see over here on the right side, the actual command it's a Docker run command. So I'm spinning up the built Docker container, passing a couple environment variables, i.e. my access keys, which I already have set up in Travis as secret environment variables. And then the command it runs is this script called s3_push. And I'll show you what that looks like down here at the bottom. So it's really simple. Basically, it's just the AWS sync command. And so you'll notice that I have two lines here. The first one, which is like syncing to my www codependent coder bucket, which is where my real live site is hosted. And this one's sending to a bucket called pzelnip. So what I did is I set it up this way while I was working on this so that I could run this command as many times as I wanted and not have to worry about trashing my site if I goof things up. And then once I was done, and that's the second pull request here, all I did was just remove that pzelnip sync command and replace it with the www codependent coder, and then everything was good. And deployments were actually, Travis was actually then deploying to my real codependent coder bucket automatically on any merge to the master branch. So other little bits from the make file. So yeah, again, that's the big change, is that all happens within a Docker container now. The only other real change is sort of just more niceties than anything else. I created these targets called pre-build, test, and deploy, and then a target called Travis, and that's my Travis deployment target that actually gets run when Travis is building the master branch, that actually does the deployment. So it builds the Docker image, runs the tests, and then does the actual push to S3. And you can see the deployment breaks down to that S3 upload, tagging the release, pushing to Docker Hub, which I'll talk about in the next video, not this one, but you'll see that in the next video, and then posting a notification to my Slack channel. Otherwise, it's just clean up and a little bit of tidying up. And so to show you what it looks like or how it all works, you'll notice, So here I am in Travis, the codependent coder project. And if I go to my branches and look at some of my history here, let's open up, say, the most recent build of the master branch. You'll see in the output, so usual stuff at the start. And then there's that if statement that's in the Travis YAML checking, if those environment variables are set in such a way that it implies that we should do deployment or not, which I showed just a second ago in the previous recording. Then it goes ahead and does the Docker build, which we had before. Nothing's really changed there. And then after the build, you can see it does that Docker run, passing in the AWS access key and secret key. And again, because those are secret environment variables, they're masked out in the build log. It does the S3 push, and you can see the output actually being uploaded to S3, i.e. doing the real deployment to the codependent coder bucket. And then at the end, scroll down to the very bottom, it then does a tag of the release. That was actually a little bit of a wrinkle, and I'm going to do a separate video to explain how to set all that up. You have to set up Travis to have permission to actually push changes back to GitHub. And there was a little bit of setup that had to be done for that. So I'll show that in a future video. And then the last thing is tagging the Docker image and pushing it up to Docker Hub, which was totally new. And I'll show that actually in the very next video. And that's basically it. Oh, and then the last thing is it does the post to Slack. And just to show that, I'll show you my Slack channel. You can see here, my most recent deployment was here. And that's the result of that last little bit of the build. And you'll notice that the username and machine name is indicative of the Travis build agent that the build was done from. If I were to run the same target from my local machine, it would be like my username and the machine name that I'm actually running on. And that's basically it. So hopefully that was useful. And like I said, in the next video, I'll show you how you push the built Docker image up to Docker Hub. Thanks for watching.